What's your most memorable birthday? For most of y'all, I know it's probably a good memory. Maybe you was at a party hooking up with a girl you've been plotting on. Maybe you was at the club getting twerked on, or maybe you finally got the gift that you always wanted. Maybe your parents gave you a car. But for me, it was a day I'll never forget for a completely different reason. So just last year on my birthday, I got a phone call that changed everything forever. One of my closest friends that I've known since middle school had taken his own life. His name was Mario. And for a long time, I didn't really want to talk about this, but even when his name's still brought up, stuff still kind of gets sad and awkward. But I've had some time to reflect on it, and I feel like, especially a story about mental health awareness in this men's mental health month, I feel like it can probably help somebody else who may have a friend that's dealing with this, or maybe even save you. You feel me? But let me go ahead and talk about Mario. This was the funniest person I ever knew. Like his jokes still hit to this day. And he's actually the person that originally got me into the gym. So of course I've had other influences that when I'm older now, they actually got me locked into the gym onto a program, being strict, having a meal plan, things of that nature. But as a high schooler, as a teenager, this was the person that actually made me start working out for real, start bench pressing, start doing things of that nature. And even at his age, I believe he was like at that time, probably around 15 or 16 when he first was like jacked. But I'm telling you, this was the most jacked guy at that age out of all of us. Like this man was so swole. And he was also one of the most protective and caring people I ever met. Like he was so quiet and chill. Like he wouldn't have a problem with nobody. But like say you were getting bullied or somebody was picking on you and he knew it wasn't like any fairness going on, like he would be the first person to like step up, like, bro, come on, bro. Like he was really like one of the coolest people I ever met. And some funny times was I remember one time LA Fitness and one of our other friends fouled this guy too hard. And when my friend wasn't even looking, the guy he fouled too hard just came up behind him and kind of like snuck him out the blue. And before my friend who got punched, before he can even realize he got punched, um Mario already punched the guy who punched my friend. And before he even realized that he got punched, the guy now I'm talking about, he's getting hit with like a combo, like a deadly combo. Like I'm talking about, he's looking like Neji giving this man the beats. And the guy's just like, come on, bro. Like, stop. And mind you, this guy has like 3, 4 years on us, bro. And he had at least a foot on Mario. Cause bro, Mario was only like 5'5", bro. 5'6" at the max, bro. And he's just wailing on this guy. This guy's like 6'1", 6'2". It was crazy. Uh, and there was one more time I want to talk about that. We got into a disagreement and shit got physical. He ended up putting the hands on me. I'm not gonna lie. I got put in the 64-piece combo and ended up leaving, calling my mom, whatever, getting picked up, blah blah blah. This was after school. And then the next day I see him and it's me being like the what's the word? Me having so much pride, like I didn't really want to look at him or talk to him or say anything to him. I just wanted to walk past him. But he made eye contact and started walking up to me, and I could see it in his face that like he was about to cry. And he gets to me, he just grabs me and hugs me and starts crying, like crying. And he's like, "Bro, I love you. It was never supposed to be like that. I apologize, bro. Like, you know I love you, bro. Like that'll never happen again. Like, blah 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 blah." And like that was the moment that I knew for a fact that like this was my brother. This wasn't just any friend that we were gonna graduate from high school and just forget about each other. This was somebody I really thought to be his family. And that was that moment I really realized that everything started to change. I remember junior year, I had changed schools, so didn't really see him as much, didn't really see any of them as much, but I still kind of always linked up with my friends from my former school. I just remember after coming around him, after a while, I just remember he kept talking about astrology. And it wasn't, I'm not to say astrology, if you talk about that, you're a weirdo, but it just was out of character for him. And it was just like the only thing he would talk about. And if we had any conversation leading away from it, he would always kind of tie it back into what we're talking about. And of course, I didn't see this as like right off the bat weird, but I did notice that this was something different that he was going through. Um, Push come to shove, actually a year later, we end up graduating. He ends up moving to Georgia after he graduates, and of course, I stayed in Florida. That's where I'm from. I'm from Florida. Um, so we had a friend in common. I'm just gonna give him a random name. I'm gonna call him Chad. So Chad was way closer to him than me. Like they were almost like family. Like they really were like family. They lived together for a certain period of time. They were really like family. That was still one of my closest friends. Both of them were my closest friends, but they were more like closer than I was to him. And I just remember him staying in contact with him when he moved to Georgia, and he would just hit me up, just worried about him because he would say like he feel like he's going through something. He's been changing, blah blah blah. And I would just tell him, there's nothing wrong with him. He just going through the astrology phase. He's just going through a spiritual phase, bro. There's nothing wrong with him. So later down the line, he ends up getting diagnosed with schizophrenia, and this is when things kind of took a change. So, we were told that he was gonna be taking his medications, everything's fine, blah blah blah. But I remember 2024, that same friend Chad, he hit my phone and he was saying like Mario tried to take his own life. And I was like, wait, what? He was like, yeah, his mom just told me that they caught him with a gun or something along the lines of that nature. But basically that he tried to take his own life. And that really messed me up because this was somebody, like I told you, this was somebody that was never on that type of timing. This was somebody that I seen in my eyes as one of the strongest mental people of all time that I've ever met. So when I heard that, that kind of hurt my heart, but he was in Georgia, so there wasn't too much I could really do about it. So I really just reached out to him. We texted, we caught up on stuff, and everything seemed kind of normal. He did text a little bit weird, but nothing seemed too out of the ordinary. A couple months passed by, and this when stuff started to get kind of weird. He would text me in like riddles and talking about random stuff like, do you know like Platter? Did you know like Pluto's next to or some stuff like I just can't remember it because of course it just sounded like gibberish to me. But yeah. Um, Time passed by. He ended up moving back to Florida, and he would reach out to me and try to hang out with me. And I was just too busy. Like I just started this new sales job. I was working like 12 hours a day, and I was just too busy. Um, he ended up moving back to Georgia because his dad didn't want to deal with him. Said he was probably acting too crazy, things of that nature. So he ended up moving back to Georgia. And this kind of messed me up at the moment because I was like, damn, bro, he was down here for like a little under a month. I never really got to see the man. But I was hoping that he would be fine and we would eventually hang out one day. If anything, I would come to Georgia if it had to go like that. But I just thought we'd eventually hang out. I would text him and be like, hey, bro, we're going to hang out. We're going to see each other, bro. And over the time, we still kept in contact. We still kept texting. But leading up to his death, I just remember it got a little bit more weird over the text. And I kind of stopped answering. I'm not going to even lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I didn't know what to say to the stuff that he was saying to me. Like, I really couldn't even decode some of the stuff. And of course, we were still talking to that friend in common, Chad, but we both couldn't really understand what he was saying. But Chad actually was there for him, would give him the phone calls and things of that nature. And um, he will still be there for him no matter what. But I'm gonna be completely honest. I stopped answering the texts, and that's when we kind of get back to how everything happened. So fast forward to my birthday. So this is actually a day before my birthday. My birthday's on the 26th. So this was the night of the 25th of October. And my other friend actually has his birthday's on the 25th and mine's on the 26th. So what we did was we had a dinner. We were at dinner going into probably like 10 p.m. And then as soon as it would hit 12, we'll celebrate, happy birthday, blah, 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 and then go to the strip club. So everything goes as planned. We end up going to the strip club, and I end up getting drunk. I end up getting wasted, like drunk as fuck. And long story short, get back to the crib probably like 5, 6 a.m. And I don't get like the typical hangover where I'm sick, nauseous, and all that shit the next day. My hangover is like I have zero energy. Like I'm literally falling asleep all day, not leaving my room. And if I do leave my room, it's not gonna be a productive day. I'm sleeping wherever I'm at. So it was one of those days I end up waking up at like 4 p.m., eating breakfast, going back to sleep, waking up at like 7, like checking my phone, going back to sleep. So I end up waking up at around 10 o'clock for real. And I get a text from one of my other best friends, basically saying Mario died. And I look at the phone for a minute. It was on my home screen. I remember this. It was on my home screen. I don't even open the phone. I'm just looking at it. And I'm thinking like this has to be a dream. Like I have to be tripping right now. So first thing I do, I didn't even text him back. I went on Instagram. Cause I was like, if if Mario really passed away, it's gonna be on Instagram. So I go through Instagram, and of course I slept through the whole day. So um if it's gonna be on Instagram, I probably missed it probably like 5, 6 hours ago where this really happened. So I'm going through Instagram. I'm seeing so much RIP posts. I'm just seeing everybody in our area just posting him, and I go to text Chad. I'm like, hey, what happened? Like, how did it happen? Because I already know. I already knew. I already knew the answer, but he tells me he took his own life, and I don't even text him back. I just kind of, I remember I flipped my phone over and just kind of just looked like in the dark, like just silence. And this was one of the most painful moments I really had. My father had just passed a month before, so I was kind of still grieving from that. So this didn't really make me sadder. It made me numb. It was just a wake up call to me because I don't know when the last time I'm going to speak to anybody now. Like, I didn't know when was the last time I was going to speak to my dad. I didn't know it was going to be the last time I spoke to Mario. So I really just sat there and kind of reflected. And looking back, I do wish I did a couple things different, of course. Don't get me wrong. Like, I do wish I did reply to some of those texts I missed. I do wish I picked up some of the phone calls I missed. And I number one, I wish I hung out with him when he did move back to Florida. I do sometimes think that maybe if I hung out with him, or maybe if I was around him during that time, maybe things could have been a little bit different. But I've come to find out, especially with dealing with the deaths of other people, you cannot always put the blame on yourself. That just really makes the pain process worse. Um, I just think the best thing to do is to learn lessons and be around for the people who are still here, just so it doesn't repeat themselves. The cycle doesn't repeat itself again. My final thoughts on here is mental health is real. I grew up being one of those kids that thought being suicidal was bullshit. Depression was bullshit. Or depression or being suicidal made you weak. Things of that nature. But one, Mario is one of the strongest people I know mentally and physically. This was not anybody that was even close to being weak. And dealing with this, and like I told you, other people passing away, even my father passing away right before Mario, I went through a stage of depression. Like the 6 months after that, the was hell. The beginning of 2026 was hell for me, and due to the people being around me, like my mom, my friend group, even my coworkers, things like that, it helped me get up out of that kind of dark shadow. It feels like a cloud over your head. They helped me kind of stay down. You feel me? So growing up, I would always be like, if you think like this, you a bitch. But I promise you, bro, this is one of the strongest people I ever known. Like, how I choose to remember Mario, I'm not gonna remember the negative parts of his life. I'm not gonna try to remember the ending. I try to remember Mario as the person that stood up for people that couldn't defend themselves. So whenever I see somebody in a situation where I feel like they're getting bullied, I always try to stand up for them. I'm gonna remember Mario as the person that got me into the gym, got me so addicted into fitness that I'm still chasing the best version of myself after being in the gym for years on years on years on end. I remember Mario as, like I said, one of the funniest and smartest people I ever met. I'm never gonna ever try to remember him as um just some type of person that lost to mental illness. And the impact that he had on my life still affects me to this day. Like the person I've became was in a large part of the influence that he had on my life. So I hope y'all enjoyed this one. It was a little bit darker than normal, but yeah, I'll be coming out with another video on Friday. Probably something a lot more lighthearted. But yeah, if you have any friends dealing with any type of mental health issues there, don't be afraid to reach out to them. Hang out with them, be there for them. You never know whose life you can save and you never know whose life you can change. OverlyTact, food for thought, we out this bit.